going in Audacity right now? I don't think I have any sound coming out.
No sound is coming out? What the flying F?
We test these things.
You test these things.
We do.
Everything is good on my end. Now it is.
Now it is.
No,
Now we can see everybody.
Well, we'll
Nobody
see.
can see anything. All right, now we got it. All right. we
Oh,
need to run
there
that
it
again.
is. No one heard anything we said in that entire introduction. Oh my goodness. All right, hey everyone. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're back here. We're working. We're good. And we're here just in time for our very special, awesome guest who gets full sound, who gets full video, and who got up way earlier than we did. Mr. Freddie C. of Legends, look back.
I muted everybody just before everything happened and made sure Jacob was in the chat so we could fix it right when I came on. So looks like everything worked.
Revenge of the Freddy.
My gosh. The best way to get a good episode is for you to throw us all off our game right at the top. I respect it, Freddie. But Freddie is here. Freddie is a giant Boba Fett fan. Has been since the olden days of the Legends stuff. So we're very excited to hear what you thought about this episode. If this is your first time on Bounty Hunt, welcome. Great choice. We are going to briefly recap what happened in the past episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 4, The Gathering Storm. And then we're going to talk about what we thought about it. We're going to give a 1 to 10 ranking. We're going to talk about some themes of the episode. This will also be a full spoiler video and or podcast. So if you haven't watched the episode, we highly recommend you pause here, go watch it, enjoy it, then come on back and join in the conversation. If you're on YouTube today, good morning. We hope you give your thoughts in the chat. We'll shout you out as we can. All right. Without further ado, fellas, let us talk about what happened in the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 4, The Gathering Storm. We begin this episode with a flashback. Boba is staking out Jabba's palace with his good bantha friend / dog when a light flare goes off in the distance. He investigates and finds Fennec Shand back in Mando Season 1, and she has been shot in the gut by that guy who I hate. I already forgot his name. But he takes her to a mod shop to save her life on the outskirts of Mos Eisley. Inside the mod shop, there's a guy straight out of Cyberpunk 2077 who fits Fennec with droid parts in her gut and saves her life. In return, Fennec agrees to help Boba recover his fire spray gunship from Jabba's palace. Then her debt will be paid. The two of them stake out the palace and then infiltrate silently, fighting droids along the way, killing some guards, and eventually flying the ship out of the palace over to the Sarlacc pit because they need to find Boba's armor. However, at the pit, they almost get sucked in before Fennec releases the seismic charge to kill the Sarlacc for good. Boba then dives into the Sarlacc's carcass and finds his armor is not there, but he makes a pitch to Fennec. If she's going to stick around, he is going to create a house to stop the bounty hunters from being used by idiots. He's sick of dying on stupid jobs. Boba then wakes up from his flashback, and we find he is fully healed. He no longer leads to Bacta, and he makes his way to Sanctuary, where a probably slightly drunk Black Chrysanthemum is watching a bunch of Trandoshans celebrate their lottery winnings, and he threatens them immediately because they are dishonoring him by simply being there. Garza then comes in and owns the room as she does and tries to talk the Wookiee down, telling how great of a gladiator he was, how this is beneath him. But she fails, and Chrysanthemum rips his arm off. However, Chrysanthemum does pay his bar tab and agrees to join Boba Fett's crew because he does need a job and something to do. Back at the palace, Boba summons the surrounding crime lords for a meeting and offers them a proposal. If you won't fight with me against the Pikes, just don't fight against me. The crime lords think about this and all agree to remain neutral in the upcoming war. And as they leave, Boba and Fennec talk about the need for muscle for the upcoming war with the Pikes, right as the familiar music of The Mandalorian comes in as we fade to black. All right, fellas, let us go around the horn, if we will. Let's rate this episode on a 1 to 10 scale. We were around last week's episode. We were on 6s. Corey gave it a 4 something, I believe. We were also in Asheville in a totally different setup. But this week, did we raise the bar up higher? Charles, let's start with you.
Yeah, we definitely raised the bar higher. There's still a couple little things that bother me, but overall, I thought that the highs of this episode were pretty darn high. It was cool to go back to the Sarlacc pit. Getting Black Chrysanthemum back was pretty important, I think, and I'm excited to see him be pretty badass some more with the rest of the season. I'm going to say overall for me, 7.8.
Very solid.
Whee.
All right, 7.8. That which is exactly the rating on IMDb. Fun fact. Corey, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think this was definitely a big improvement over last week's, for sure. I think I really enjoyed this one. Caitlin hadn't seen episode 3 before this one, right? Episode 3? Yeah, this was 4, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Caitlin hadn't seen episode 3 before this. We watched it right before the episode, which was maybe a mistake because it did sort of influence my opinion of episode 4 a little bit. So I think my first gut reaction was to give it a lower score, but then I reflected on it and watched part of it again, and I was like, no, this was a lot better. So I'm gonna kind of back Charles up, and I'm gonna say 7.5.
All right, I like that. Also very solid. Freddie, this is your first rating on a bounty hunt. What's it gonna be?
It is, man. So I'm pretty biased, obviously. It is Boba Fett, and I'm a
Good.
big fan of
Good.
Boba Fett. This episode is exactly what it's named, right? It's a gathering of the storm. We're about to see a lot of stuff happen in the next few episodes, and everything has been a bit slow, right? They've been trying to put in an action as much as possible to try to keep it going, right? But we're entering a new era, which is this war with the Pikes, right? And I'd like to think, I'm gonna make a guess here. Episode 5, this is it right here.
The story of the faithful Wookiee. Holiday special. Yes.
I've ridden beasts 10 times the size.
All right.
You know what? I'd love to see. I'll see if we get. There it is. Quick page turn. I hope we see that.
Holy crap.
Oh, wow.
There it
That is approximately 10 times the size right there.
I like it. All right, so that's a solid description. Did you get
8.2.
8.2.
8.2.
So we got
Good,
7.8,
solid,
8.2.
solid.
All right, and Corey, what'd you get? I already forgot.
7.5.
7.5. All right, Wes, bring us around.
So I did like this episode. I enjoyed how we went back to Fennec Shand, how he found her, and then how kind of the third episode that we didn't love as much kind of tied into this one with the with like the cybernetics and the experimental installations they put on their bodies. I didn't know that was a thing, and apparently that is a thing at Tatooine because he went straight to that particular spot.
Yeah, for real.
Like that cafe. So overall, I think I'm on the same round as you guys, but I'm gonna say I'm not gonna give it a full 8. I'm gonna give it a 7.9.
Very solid rating. Very solid rating. So we're all kind of on the same page here. I'm gonna bump this one up. I'm gonna give this one a 9.1. I really enjoyed this
Wow.
episode quite a bit.
Holy smokes.
I noticed on the second watch, I was actually I was excited to rewatch it again, which I think is a great kind of indicator for me and how I like an episode. And I got to give a shout out to the director, Kevin Tencharon, I believe is his name. And he hadn't done any Star Wars before. I looked at his IMDb, and I think he really did a great job with this and kind of further solidified that this series, the success of it for episode to episode, is really based on director for me. I'm seeing a lot of differences depending on how they craft them. And I
Yeah.
thought this one was really done well. I really loved the interplay between Boba and Fennec. I think we've been hinting at it for a while, and really, sometimes I felt like we got more of it in Mandalorian than we've gotten now. But I really enjoyed what they did with this one with them. I liked the action sequences, was that they were great. I was also kind of amazed at how many things we got in this. I know we keep talking about dense episodes, but we got like the fire spray in motion. We got them mowing down like 12 or 14 speeders in one go. We got the seismic charge back. We got fighting through an entire palace. We got new droids. We got the Pikes. We got Chrysanthemum fighting. Like we got just so many cool elements.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought they all
Lots of
looked
small stuff.
clean. You know,
What
as
about
opposed
the
to last
practical
week.
effects?
Yes.
That's the big thing
Yeah.
for me, right? Like the
yeah.
first of all the characters are in full gear, right? They're not
Yep.
CGI.
Yep.
Right.
I'm pretty sure the Bomar monk, I don't remember which episode that was stop motion.
Yep. I
You
think
can just kinda
that
see
will.
like the Clash of the
I think
Titans.
that was this one.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
And they're doing such a great job integrating the practical. When they do have to use CGI now, I think it is each series I think it gets a little better and a little cleaner, especially with like using the volume and then using practicals and stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. But let's start out in this episode with a conversation that has been overtaking the internet a little bit in the wake of this episode, but actually isn't a big deal, as we're gonna say, and that is Boba Fett ship. So Boba Fett ship, colloquially for the last like decades and so has been known as Slave One. It is now being put on merchandise and such things as either Boba Fett ship or the fire spray. And he even says in this episode, I need to get my fire spray gunship. And everyone was like, why can't I say slave anymore? And Freddie, as the resident Boba Fett kind of expert of among us, we were talking offline, and you mentioned how actually none of canon has changed at all because of this.
No.
So can we just briefly address that?
Yeah. So a couple things. I've always wondered since I was a kid why they called it Slave One, because it's not like Boba Fett is a slave master of any sort. So that really never made sense to me. I thought it was just a random name that they put out there. But the one thing I do want to note is when you look at this ship, right? You don't say, "Oh, can I get a Slave One?" That's not what it is. It's a KSC fire spray. That's what this vehicle is. It's always been that. It hasn't changed. It was like that in Legends. Go play Star Wars Galaxies by yourself. That ship, it's not going to be called Slave One unless you name it that.
You got to Star Wars Galaxies within the first 10 minutes of the show. I love
it. Oh my god!
Anywhere I can put it, man. So it's not controversial at all. When I heard it, I was like, "Oh my goodness! Finally, they're saying the actual name of the ship,
the fire spray,
in a Star Wars episode." And that's never. I don't think I've heard that yet.
No.
So,
yeah, big fan. I
take
also was thinking that too. We had a funny little conversation about that. Of like this is not new. This has been around forever. The Jango Fett game too. Actually, it's called. I think it actually might be called the fire spray in that game. So I don't know. Who cares? Like, why are people so opinionated about this? This is dumb.
Yeah,
this is dumb. This first came up when Lego did it. Like they put Boba Fett Starship, whatever, which is fine. I mean, who cares? Whatever.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say for all our folks out there that are watching, and if you want to go on Twitter and write out a tweet that somehow enforces your intense desire on needing to say the word slave, and you look at your profile picture and you look at the words and you still want to press that tweet button, just like think about it for a second and just know what you're doing. Just a friendly little reminder that maybe save that in the drafts. But the fire spray was dope. We're gonna get to that functionally in a little bit. But earlier in the episode, we get Fennec back. We literally get the flashback from Mando Season 1. And our good friend Meg Dowell actually wrote an article over on Comic Book Resources, I believe, about if the sounds were the same or not, if they changed the audio cues from Mando Season 1 to Book of Boba Fett. So go check that out. But we then go to this awesome, weird mod shop that we have never quite seen in Star Wars before. Really looks like something out of Cyberpunk 2077. And we had talked a little bit about either wanting a little more from the cybernetics last episode or that they didn't quite hit us in a way we wanted to with the Street Gang. But what did you guys think about this new mod guy that had, he had the colored dreads, he had like the go-go gadget hand of surgery. Like, what did you think about the vibe of this shop? Yeah, this guy.
Cool, man. I'm a big fan. So number one, I'm very shocked we haven't seen cybernetics in a lot of Star Wars stuff, right? Like we're already talking about it, brain chips, etc. The second that I can do cybernetics for my body, I'll probably do it. I'm hanging out with those guys.
You heard it here first.
Seen it. You heard it here first. I want a super battle droid hand, just like that
guy. See, now we're getting to it. We get this. And also, for a fun fact, this guy, his character name is Modifier, and he was played by Thundercat, who is a composer on the Venom Let There Be Carnage soundtrack. So all of this works together in the same vibe.
He actually played the bass for Kendrick Lamar, I think.
I love that. That's awesome.
This hand that he has different like attachments for his arm is very Star Wars. It's very like torture droid from episode 4 with all the little devices that are on it.
Charles and Corey, how badly do you want this for your work?
Oh my god! Listen, oh my god! Listen, I have to say, I don't know if this was like just the doctor in me, right? Because I mean, Charles, we know about medicine in real life and shit, right? But I gotta say, there's been like one thing in every single episode that's really kept me from taking the episode to like a 9, except for that train episode. This scene was kind of it for me, guys. Like if we play devil's advocate a little bit, I really didn't like this. Like my first watch through, I was like, oh, it just felt very like sci-fi TV channel Like, the sci-fi
okay,
shows,
sure.
the practical effects were just like a little too, I don't know, fan fiction quality, I guess. The medicine doesn't make any damn sense whatsoever. Like, okay, I'm complaining about medicine in a freaking space wizard. Yeah, okay, I get that, sure. But like, this is up there for me as medically unrealistic as like Darth Maul is alive, right? Like, and getting cut in half, and now he's like, so I was just like, what are they replacing? Like her organs and shit with pipes and stuff, and like it kind of bothered me. It sort of took me out a little bit, which was annoying. But I will say there were some things I liked. I loved the modifier. He was such a cool character. I would love to get more about him in some more expanded universe stuff. Jacob just said in the chat, you wouldn't download a car music would have fit perfectly in this scene.
Oh my God.
That is so true. The music was incredible. I loved it.
I want to visit this guy's shop in a video game. I want to like go in. That's after you upgrade yourself. He'd be like, "Hey, modifier."
You're too old to be here.
Yeah. So exactly.
So I agree with Corey. The first time that I watched this, it did take me out of it, and there was one shot in particular that really took me out of it. When they pump in the fluids into her abdomen, there's two pipes. One has blue liquid and one has red, and you just know that was like the classic oxygenated versus deoxygenated blood. And I was like, come on, guys, come on. But actually,
so we're taking her blood out. That's what we're doing. Are we replacing it with hydraulic fluid? No, that's cool.
I guess
all right,
so.
we can do that.
But
she's doing an oil change every couple weeks.
It was this. I was like, this is everything I hate that people think is real. But that's okay. This looked like more of a place where I'd want to get a tattoo than my entire gut replaced. But besides that,
why not both, Charles?
I did really like the modifier. And when I kind of stepped back a little bit, I was like, you know what? I like that we're doing some more out of the box weird stuff because the weird stuff that's been done in Star Wars is like not the only weird stuff we can do. Like we should be pushing boundaries. We should be seeing, even more kind of strange, unique things brought in because that's how it was when it hit the screen in 77, man. All that stuff was so wild. Like, why aren't we still pushing the limit on that? And I think they did.
Yeah, but episode. I mean, the other thing I'll say too is that my biggest problem with this whole concept period is that we're on Tatooine. Like this doesn't make sense on Tatooine. Like the poor desert planet. Like it would make sense if we were on like Coruscant or something like that that has the city cyberpunk vibe. But like, I agree with that. I feel that. Yeah, it's Tatooine. Like would it have made sense if we saw in the films when Luke lost his hand that he went back to Tatooine to get the surgery done? Like no, that wouldn't have made any damn sense, right? He was on this advanced like medical ship, right? So I don't know. It still bothers me, but I like that we're pushing the weirdness. I'm all for bringing new stuff to Star Wars. But
Yeah, I wonder. It's interesting for me because I think sometimes why it worked for me too. All that stuff is actually fascinating to hear, and I think a lot of people absolutely agree that you balance the weird, but also do we stretch credibility with previously established Tatooine stuff? And for me, it reminded me that in some sci-fi stuff, I feel like in either impoverished communities or like communities where there's like this fascist government and people are like hiding, there is a lot of emphasis on like body modification or weapon modification because it's like I don't have the money to do this stuff, so I will spend it on flair. Or like you see it sometimes like impoverished communities in the world we have now that like there's a lot of body shops and it's like cars are the huge thing. So I feel like they're treating their body as the car in my mind as I was watching this, and I thought that was like interesting thing. And I overall thought that the people's hanging around the mod shop looked better than the main characters from last week. We're fine. I think they're gonna come back. But overall, I do find it interesting that I did not have cybernetic humans on my bingo card for this show, and they seem to be now coming back.
I love this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this guy with the eyes, man. I love that. And I love that. And I'll reiterate again. Like I loved that dude from the last episode too, the one that called in that the Pikes were. Coming in. He was like, keep your eye on it or whatever. And he's like, oh, it's cool. He says like, it's cool, man. It's cool, man. I'm proud of this. I paid
a lot for my
I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I love these characters. It's very interesting and unique. But again, we're on Tatooine. I just don't know if it works here. So
yeah. Oh, and one thing in that mail shop, I can't find the picture right now, but Ming-Na Wen's son makes an appearance in this episode. He is I saw that. In a jacket and a tie as they're walking in. So look that up. He's which I think is great because if take your child to work day always kind of sucked, but if your mom is Fennec Shand
in Star Wars,
pretty cool.
Oh man, that's
so congrats.
Did anyone else think that maybe they should have like asked Fennec if she wanted an entire metallic gut before they did that?
I mean,
No,
I don't know. She was like,
that's
she was
the-
unconscious, right?
Yeah,
She would
what
have
she-
died. She
I know,
had no
but-
choice.
but
Listen,
just
Charles.
saying,
Boba
if I
was her
just
power
woke
of
up-
attorney. All right, that's just how it works.
Clearly. I don't know if the Good Samaritan rule stretches quite that far, but maybe I'll touch it.
I was
Hey,
thinking.
bro, she have a DNR? She got DNR on that wrist?
I mean, I was thinking the entire time she was going to wake up during that surgery, right, and not like when she was
know.
done. And
They
they
use
didn't.
anesthesia.
Maybe
Maybe that's
they-
what that bullshit was in that tube.
I like that they finished major surgery and then he just took her and laid her down next to a campfire out in the
Yeah.
dirt.
Some dirt, right?
You good? You good?
Oh, yeah. She's like, "What the hell did you do to me? I'm a robot." And he's like, "Listen, I saved your life." He's like, "Yeah, but this is not the way I wanted to live. I have a DNR. What are you doing, bro?" It's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry."
I can't.
Well, since
What
we're
did you do to me? You're welcome.
Oh, a lot of
guess.
complaining. But since we're talking about her guts, let's talk about what she uses those guts to do. Fennec Shand, finally, after 3 episodes of asking for it, she gets here. Hold on. Here we go. Fennec Shand right here gets her moment to shine. Also, look at the hair detail on this Funko. I was just blown
man,
away
that's
when I
nice.
got it. It's amazing. Fennec Shand gets her episode to show why she's the master assassin. She gets her little like Seventh Sister meets Darth Maul mini seeker droids to seek out the entirety of Jabba's palace, and then she goes in, leads Boba in, like uses the acid cran from Spy Kids to
So
open up
cool.
a drain and decapitate droids, and then she takes her rifle and no scopes like 30 guards before doing a WWE kickflip on the fire spray, and then getting in and shooting off a weight, and she kills the Sarlacc.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, good
It was
episode for a
fantastic.
girl Fennec.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much cool stuff in this one. And big fan of the my favorite part of this entire scene by far was a little drone that she sent through Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Like I was having major,
Yeah, that was cool.
and that map, I was having major Zephos. What was it? Zephos? Yeah, the planet from
Zepho, yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order. Like it looked like this map, the navigating stuff. I loved. That was so badass. I loved that.
You know,
Yeah,
there is-
there it is.
There was an interesting part in this episode. So that little thing, right? It's when they were looking at the video, the Arbesh on the top. I think it says
Mhm.
ghost. And then the second it
Oh.
starts to enter the building, it starts scrambling the letters. Like it's like basically being it's scrambling its code, I guess. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know. I don't know how this world works.
Yeah, it's tech and stuff, and it makes a map, and
Yeah,
it
super cool.
it's funny because I think a lot of the pre-Star Wars, pre-Disney Plus, a lot of the cool Marvel Netflix shows, they always had their episode of the hallway fight, right? Where you're like, we're gonna plan an infiltration, like Daredevil had one each season, where you go in and you just fight a bunch of guys. And when they were making up the map with like the ping, 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 all these guys, I'm like, oh my god, is this just gonna be a giant hallway fight? And I liked what they did instead. I liked the little infiltration bits. I liked that they mixed the comedy. Like we got the droid, the Jabba's palace droid that checks him in. I like that he was still working. He's in the kitchen now, I guess. He's been demoted. And then we had General Grievous with the knives, which was very fun. That Fennec absolutely just killed. And then, of course, the little droid that just literally killed himself because he was so afraid of Boba Fett. I thought that was dark and also one of the funniest things I've seen in this entire show.
Turned himself off.
What was
No,
that?
he
What
just
was
had
that
a
droid
switch.
from? What is this droid from? Is that
He's
Clone
from,
Wars?
He was. Remember the Clone Wars? I think it was with the bombs. He was helping. Who was that?
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember. It
I
is
do.
Clone
Yes,
Wars.
I do remember.
It was like the
now.
virus episode. I think.
The Blue
think
Shadow
so.
virus? Is it
Yes,
that one? Yeah.
And
And
he's
his
carrying
little-
around the bomb or doing something.
Yeah, the rat catcher.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what it's called on. They call the rat
They
catcher
call him
because
the
his
rat
little net.
catcher. Oh no.
Oh my god, I just loved that whole scene and the fact that you play with the comedy and Boba Fett's like just swinging a gaffy stick, hitting pots and pans, but it was still like a little threatening. And then of course the fight all around the ship was, I think, just really immaculately well choreographed. I mean, that is a ton of extras. It's a ton of guys, all, as you said, Freddie, really well make-upped, really well masked up. I mean, I thought that just Fennec being able to take them all down from bit to bit while Boba's figuring out the ship and trying to, like, when you get out of that parallel parking space and you're just trying to go back and forth through an 18-point turn, and he just keeps hitting the wall. And I was just like, I thought it was just a great use of the comedy mixed with the intensity, which I think was missing last episode with the chase. It was too much comedy that took away from the danger, whereas this, I thought, had some comedy, but was still a really well-executed fight scene, you know?
You know that the funny part is there's always been like a trope of like, how does Boba Fett see anything when he takes off, right? Because he's facing up. And in this one, he's like, I can't see anything.
Yeah, finally we get it.
Yeah, it's like, Fennec, you need to do it. And then, I mean, hitting the weight and then flying off was great. I also thought that every time the ship was flying around, I thought it looked excellent. And I had a couple moments where I'm like, this is a TV show. Like, right after this, when the fire spray came down and was firing on the biker gang, the Sons of Anarchy Niktos,
Yeah.
like, the speed, the angles, like that looked like a film quality easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that is an expensive shot to do. I just loved everything about them. And of course, let's then move to the biggest part of the fire spray. We got to see our buddy the Sarlacc again, which again is a little worrisome. Sarlacc's very dangerous, still definitely alive. How did you guys like seeing the Sarlacc again? Because it did reinforce the updated special edition thing with the mouth that is controversial on the Blu-rays instead of just the teeth. How did you like seeing that in a more practical way where it was literally like grabbing and pulling, trying to pull the entire ship in?
It was a cool moment. It felt kind of like a horror film to me when they started hovering over it, you know, looking down into the mouth of the Sarlacc, and you're just waiting, right? Like, you know, this thing is still alive. Like, you know, it's going to grab the ship at any moment. And I felt like it felt threatening because the Sarlacc is kind of jokey in a little way, right? Like, it burps in the original trilogy and stuff. Like, it's always been a little jokey, but this did a nice job of like reminding us, I think, like, hey, this is dangerous. This thing is no joke.
Yeah, imagine Boba getting caught twice by the Sarlacc. That would have been such a bad story for him.
Oh, but I do have a question. Why does he think the armor's in the Sarlacc? Because, like, does he not remember escaping in the armor?
So that's the thing, right? I think he doesn't remember. I
Yeah.
personally feel like he was in such trauma. He passed out. I don't think he remembers the Jawa was taking his armor.
Yeah.
I don't think he remembers much of what happened. He just remembered
which
I
helps
escaped.
us, and that
Yeah.
helps us with the whole. I know some people have like shouted online about like, why didn't he go for his armor already, right? Like, I guess he really doesn't know where it's at.
Yeah.
Which
I think
is
there's
not
also a
good.
chance that, I mean, the Jawas took it off him as he was unconscious. Even if he does unlock the memory of getting out, then he knows when he woke up, he was with the Tuskens and his armor was off. So I think maybe he's like, maybe they took it off me and the Sarlacc may have taken it back. I mean, if it's alive, it may have just gone back into the pit. So either way, I think the last time he saw it or felt it, that's where it was.
Yeah.
So I like that idea, and I love, I mean, getting the seismic charge back. I know for us prequel babies and stuff, it is such a visceral thing hearing that sound. When they put it in Mando season 2, it was one of the greatest moments of the entire season. But Fennec literally like going to this button, what's this button? And almost falling down, and then you just see it come out and then just kind of clink, clink. And the second it opened up, we all knew exactly what was coming. And I'm like, oh my God, what a great way to set that up visually. Because they know how much we just want to hear that sound effect. And I loved seeing it under the sand. That was a really cool effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time that they used the seismic charge in Mando, when it came out of the fire spray, was like that stand up and cheer moment. This one was cool because I've always felt like the seismic charge was, the sound is the best part, right? But the actual, like the visual of it is really cool as well. But seeing it underground, thank you for pulling this up. Seeing it underground and just seeing the shockwave expand and knowing what's going on under the surface was like a fun kind of new way to experience it.
Yeah. Also, I love that everyone's pointing out Boba's ship's backlights here look like an annoyed face. It's like,
It's an emoji.
meh.
I'm
Oh my
not
God,
sure about
seismic
this.
charge? Meh. So that was cool. And of course, all this stuff happens in the present. Boba then he gets acid burned. It's all, I mean, bless his heart. Now we know why he was in Bacta for so long, because dude just walked into a Sarlacc to find his stuff. I do wish he would have found, like, I don't know, like a prepaid gift card or something in there. But he does then come out of the back to tank in this episode and they say, "Hey, boss, you're fully healed." He also looks great. I mean, Tim, your skincare routine, gorgeous. Dude is getting old and he looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But what do you think now? We've been 4 episodes in with this kind of conceit of we're mostly flashback, we're a little present, flashback, present. But now that he's fully healed, do you think we're all done going into the past timeline, which also might mean we're done with Tuskens and stuff like that?
So that's pretty interesting, because in that scene, she talks about the emotional scars, and he basically says those take longer. So in a way, it could be like, well, he knows that those are there and he's going to work on those. We're not going to see them anymore because it's going to take a long time, or we're going to continue to see that through the entire scene until the very moment he unlocks a certain memory and becomes an absolute animal. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what's going to happen. He's starting a war. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And
still has
it's
to
always
sleep,
there.
too.
It's always there for backup, right? So if he gets hurt, he's got this giant back to tank where he can go in and heal his bones or heal his, he may get a sunburn in the next day and he needs to go in there for 10 minutes,
Yeah. Or his buddies. I mean, last episode when the Gamorrean got hurt, he said, "Take him to my back to tank."
Yeah.
Right.
Which was also a total bro thing to do. He's like, I'm like, hey, I love to where the medical is great for Boba. Only one of you can be hurt at a time, but if you are hurt, you can use a medical grade back to tank, which I think is very helpful. But I thought it was interesting if we're done, or at least minimalizing flashbacks. Like you say, Freddy, the emotional scars, we talk about them. I think there's a possibility of him having just straight up dreams and going back to that are just like in a, I'm sure, languished satin sheeted bed or something. But as far as half an episode being dedicated to flashbacks, as I think the better ones have with this in episode 2, I think those might be done for the last 3, which I do agree is better for the show if the war is now here. If the Pikes are here and we're building up the muscle, I think that we do need every minute in the present we can get to build up that team, get ready for the fight, and have the fight, because that does seem where we're going. And speaking of that team, we did get to alleviate one of our worries from last week. We were worried that one of our favorite characters, one of our favorite cameos, which is not so much a cameo, of Black Chrysanthemum, was used and discarded last week after he ran away so gracefully like a baby deer after he was released from Boba Fett. But this episode, we see him just, man spreading like you wouldn't believe, wasted looking at Trandoshans. What a marvelous way to bring him in. I loved Garza trying to talk him down. I thought that whole scene was really fun. I thought the mask work was very good. But then he did join the crew. We got Black Chrysanthemum here, living his best life. What do you guys think about, one, bringing Chrysanthemum this way again? Did it feel like they were trying to course correct, or did it seem to make sense to you? And also, what did you think about him joining Boba so soon to be at that meeting by the end?
Like you guys brought up when we were in Asheville last week, Charles, you talked about how we were rolling back things and like you seem to make plot points not matter. Like, why are we doing this now and not like last episode? I don't know. Seems unnecessary.
I was really happy because I know I said, I felt like we were kind of walking some plot points back. I was stoked when he was back on the screen, dude. I gave a little cheer. I really like this character. And I think that it did a good job of probably further establishing this character for people who don't know him from the comics. Yeah. Because like some people were watching this and thinking Garza was going to talk to him and he was going to put that poor little Trandoshan down, and walk away. And
he's a hero, right?
Yeah. But the fact that he just ripped the dude's arm off, like tossed, it was the Han Solo moment of flipping a coin to the bartender.
Yes.
Right? And
sorry
walking
about the mess.
out. Yeah. And that right there, just as it does with establishing Han's character, that establishes Black Chrysanthemum moving forward. This dude is just a savage, and I cannot wait to see him unleashed on the rest of the crime syndicates.
Like the whole time, the whole time he was holding up this Transocean, he was holding him by the arms, and every one of us were like, "When is he going to rip those arms off?"
They're gone.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry to say, there's an article just came out from Screen Rant. There's actually been already a reshoot done where we're gonna see the Trandoshan pull his arm off first, and Chrysanthemum is gonna pull it off second to make him a hero. So, sorry, that is the updated special edition of Book of Boba Fett confirmed. But yeah, I loved him that way. And Caroline in the chat brings up a great point. Can we just talk about how good he looks?
Yeah.
We don't get as many up close things of Chewie, and when we do, it's always like, mouth open. We love Chewie, we love seeing him, but it's not quite as animated. Like Chrysanthemum does almost look animated. That's a great point,
It's
Caroline.
the
Like,
eyes. It's the eyes.
yeah,
Mhm.
his facial, his eyebrows, and his like his whole face you can see as he's considering what Garza is saying, especially in that scene. Like, yeah, like this is really, really solid animation. Like this is if Cats was good, you know?
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
So Carrie Jones, he's the actor that played Black Chrysanthemum, and you could see the physicality of his acting, right? Just he's an absolute warrior when he just comes out with his his what are they, the vibro knucklers? I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
I
they
love
are
that
now.
term. I love that term. Vibro knucklers.
Oh, hold on a second. I just looked up this dude, Carrie Jones. Yeah, you said he is actually, this makes total sense. He's a makeup artist. He has been the special effects makeup crew on The Walking Dead, Lovecraft Country, Watchmen. Like, dude has been in special effects makeup for his entire thing. So if he's going to be Black Chrysanthemum, no wonder it looks good.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, hey, I'm not going to
Look
do
at
this.
that.
Like, that eyebrow raise is so effective and so cool, because I think that it makes him not just another random Wookiee, right? Not just
Yeah.
another random piece of muscle. So when we bring him in these last 3 episodes, we respect him. And when we saw him in the meeting at the end, which I want to talk about in a second, he had something to say the whole time, even if he wasn't doing any kind of, verbalized acting. I loved him just being there. But let's jump into that as well, because we had seen this table scene that we see at the end of the episode in like the first trailers. We had seen it for a while. We knew that we were getting this back. We knew that we were going to see eventually a meeting of the crime lords. Robbie Rodriguez did at one point say, oh yeah, it's all in the first half of the first episode, which was a lie. But we now finally got this meeting of the 3 families that were very Godfather-esque, very typical of, your classic crime stories, very Scorsese and all that.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about Boba finally sitting down with these guys? How'd you like how this scene worked out? And also, how exciting is it that I think we're now out of trailer clips, period?
Yeah. Big fan of the Rancor in that scene.
Oh,
Yeah, I like almost forgot about the Rancor until
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
me
hungry.
too.
I'm going to give him half a baby back rib. There you go. Like,
That's the same with the Bantha. He was like, the Bantha has got to be what, thousands and thousands of pounds. He's like, do you want
here you
this
go.
one chicken thigh? That wouldn't help me out for a meal.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, big fan of that. I love that the Rancor was brought in. He was like, why should we trust you? And Rancor's like, ugh! It's like, that's why.
Yeah. No, that was... Oh,
It
have a
was-
seat. Have a seat. It's fine.
Yeah, that was that kind of ties into something from earlier. I know now we know Boba Fett is fully healed, right? And I had said in a past episode that I was hoping that maybe we wouldn't see that and we would need to see Boba use his smarts. Well, he's fully healed, but he's still using his smarts. He's still doing like the gangster thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was the biggest flex and just like smart move in the world to have their dinner table set on like the trap
Yeah.
door that the Rancor is underneath. Like, that was the kind of stuff that I was hoping to see Boba Fett do. And the way that he didn't like initiate a war with these other families just because they won't fight for him, but just trying to strike that deal to stay out of his way, more or less. Like, all of that was like exactly the stuff out of a gangster movie that I wanted. Like, the only thing that didn't happen was I wanted a real Godfather moment. I wanted Black Chrysanthemum to like stab someone's hand to get it stuck to the table if they like talk back to Boba.
I mean,
The
3
other
more
thing
episodes.
about that scene, which kind of shows Boba's prowess and how smart he actually is he could have been sitting in his throne, right, and have everybody come for dinner, but he decided to sit along with them. Because
Yeah.
do you really think that
Yeah.
Jabba would be doing that, right? Do you really think that he'd be sitting
chairs are
with,
too
with
small.
those guys?
No, can't do
Yeah.
it.
So, he's like, I'm on your level, but also, I got a Rancor just right underneath you.
Yeah.
Kind of super flex.
Yeah, and I did love the idea that he's sitting there and his proposal, which he gives, is not join me or I'm feeding you to the Rancor. It was, hey, fight with me, but if you're not, listen, man, I get it. I'm a cool dad. Just don't stab me in the back. Like it's the bar for crime bosses, but I think that is so low, but it also gives him so much respect from them. And I did enjoy how each faction was a bit different, how they each reacted in a different way. And Boba kind of going in, I truly did buy from Tem's performance that he would have taken either answer. And I don't think he was intentionally giving them a bad deal or intentionally giving them to say no. But he kept his cool and he was calm and collected. And because of the flashback, knowing his purpose for this house is only to make sure that his fellow bounty hunters and people don't get abused. Like, he doesn't want absolute power. He doesn't want their territories earnestly. He just wants safety and security for people in his line of work. I'm
but
like,
your new empire. Sorry.
Yeah, your new empire. Yeah, I thought he was great in it. And I really, as he was saying it, I'm like, that's a pretty good deal. Like, I get that. I take that deal. And I think it's smart to not overly complicate it with the syndicates as well, or the other crime lords.
Do we think they're all going to stay out of it for real?
I do. I honestly do at this point.
Okay. I mean, it's already pretty busy. So, like, just from a story standpoint, I could see them actually all staying out of it. But I wouldn't mind seeing someone stab him in the back and he has to, like, smack him down and look at the other two and be like, listen, guys, we had dinner.
Although Brandon makes a great point in the chat.
Bread.
Very interesting that the spread at the dinner is significantly less impressive than Boba's like brunch that he had last week.
Well, he did get really pissed off by that. I mean, he was like, "This is too much food. Get this out of my face." So, I get it.
You want a second glass of wine? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Trandoshan. Are you paying for it? It's a one drink maximum.
I do.
Sorry.
I do have a question.
Ticket?
Which species is this?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
Oh, that's the guy. That's the guys from Mando. That isn't it. That raided the village with the blue shrimp.
Oh yeah, it is the.
I can't remember their name.
What is
Okay,
that?
yeah. Okay, so it crossed my mind that this was the lion from the Wizard of Oz. This is what this guy is.
Oh my god!
It does look like
It sure is now.
God. Doesn't it look like? Oh man, I'm sorry I'm bringing this up, guys. He just reminds me of that character from Star Trek without the ears.
Yeah,
Orc.
I've
What's
never
his
seen
name?
a Star Trek.
I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Oh,
The
I
guy
got
with
it.
the teeth in the ears.
Quark is right.
2 fun facts. 1, it's a Klaatuinian.
There it is.
Okay, there it is.
And
Jacob.
2, that Klaatuinian is played by Phil Lamar, who is
No,
a
it's
voice
not.
actor that is, Kit
Oh,
Fisto
wow.
on the Clone Wars. Yeah, that's Phil Lamar.
I totally
That's
don't
so-
see it.
Yeah, because he's wearing a giant prosthetic.
Doesn't he play another character in here too? Phil Lamar.
I think so. Probably. But yeah,
I
Phil
thought
Lamar, we
Phil
love you.
Lamar played.
Well done.
He also played what? Who's
It's great content.
Yeah, I
Isn't
know.
he
Sorry
someone on
about that.
Futurama?
He probably is.
Yeah, Family Guy. He's been on all of them. He's also on Star Trek Lower Decks. There you go, Freddie.
I thought he sat in
I
for
don't
Jar
know
Jar
that, man.
Binks on an episode in Clone Wars, or
I believe he did.
Yeah.
I believe he did. But also, speaking of Phil Lamar, great job. Maybe he'll play another character because, y'all, while we may not get the Klaatuinian back, we may not get the Trandoshans back, we are getting Muscle back. At the end, we literally get to hear our favorite theme of the Mandalorian. At the end. Is Din Djarin coming to this show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be Din. I mean, there was some talk about Ahsoka online. There was talk about Bo-Katan. And I'm like, I would be shocked if they did anybody besides Din, personally.
yeah.
You think that's the only one's coming?
The music at the very, very end? It was the same music that we heard when we were hanging out with Solo and Kira.
Whoa.
Freddie.
I didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
I
Freddie?
didn't catch it either.
Yeah, listen to the very end. You'll hear like that what is it? The Crimson Dawn sound.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh.
Do y'all want to
way.
watch the very end?
If they
Sure.
do
Yeah,
that,
I do.
If
I
they
do.
do
Yeah, let's see
that,
it.
10.
All right.
It's in there.
As long as sound is in there.
Sound is in there.
Yeah, I hear it.
Do you trust them?
I trust them to work in their own self-interest. My deal is a lot better than what the Syndicate would offer. They may be stubborn, but they are not foolish enough to see that the Pikes would eventually take over the whole planet. Either way, we must prepare for war.
How much treasure do we have in reserve?
I have plenty of credits. What I'm short on is muscle.
Credit.
We got plenty of money, bro.
If you know where to look.
So there you
All right,
hear
that's
There it is.
Mando.
Yeah.
Definitely Mando.
That's definitely so. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it, guys. But for sure, Crimson Dawn music is there. I heard it, and it was pretty scary. I was like, "Uh-oh."
Nice.
Okay, interesting.
Well,
right,
who's
okay.
the last people? Because we don't know exactly how Mando's going to come into this. We don't know the
Right.
full timeline, right? But the last time we saw Mando, he's with a whole squad, right? Like he just
Yeah, he
handed
is.
over Grogu. He was with Bo-Katan. He was with some of the other Mandalorians, right? Who else was there? Like, is it just going to be that whole crew kind of picking up where they
Like
left off?
Koska
and-
Reeves, Axe Woves, like
Yeah, like,
is
are we
it-
gonna? Do you think we're gonna see all of them, or do they somehow just get Din?
well,
don't
it's interesting
know.
because we don't have the fallout from the dark saber, right? What if they come in and Din to the dark saber and the whole show's Bo-Katan just like side eyeing and being like, "Yeah, we're here to help. Wish I had a dark saber.
I have other things to look for.
I think bringing Bo-Katan in, while I want it to happen, not only for a lot of people on our team that want that to happen more than anything, but I do think that with giving the specific shot at the end of Mando season 2 where she's looking at the darksaber like with intention, I think that story, without it being expressed, I think it'd be odd to see them both. I mean, I'm sure they could do it, but I think they're just going to bring in Din and then maybe other folks. But let's be clear. If all of a sudden we look in the sky and there's Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Axe Woves, and Koska Reeves coming in with jetpacks and landing, being like, "Hey, I owe you a debt. Thanks for helping me in season 2 of my show." Like, hell yeah.
Well, and not to make this about Mando, right? Because this show is about Boba Fett, but you do wonder too, what's his motivation to join up? Is it just paying back like a debt, or is it, we don't know what his real goal is going to be like moving forward. Like that's not entirely clear.
Yeah.
So it's
He
interesting.
was trying to find the Mandalorians, right? So maybe it is just a debt. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
did he square up with Boba at the end? Because Boba, they got the armor back.
Right.
But I mean, it's been so long since I've seen Mandalorian season 2. We've had so much Star Wars since then.
Right.
Like I almost forget where they were. And honestly, if they hadn't had the music cue, I don't think I would have thought about Din. I don't think I would have
Me neither.
assumed it. But it's
I
so
agree.
specific.
Yeah, it gave me chills, man.
I was wondering.
yeah!
I was wondering if did y'all catch that? Apparently, that was like the thing that everybody caught. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
everybody saw or heard that.
Yeah. I thought it was a great pull, and I do. It's interesting because we always say manage your expectations. We are not about speculation a lot, but when you end an episode with something this intense and this specific about Din Djarin, I really hope that next episode we find out who it's going to be, and they don't try to wait till like the second to last or something. Because like, dude, you're throwing up the alley oop, and if it just falls to the ground, and then you have to do an inbound pass, like that would suck. So I'm hoping that they do it well. I have no doubt that they will, honestly. But I do hope that next week we start to bring the team together, and we get a full episode 5, 6, and 7 with a team of enforcers fighting against the Pikes.
This is definitely like a setup episode for the next 3, and we've all been waiting. Like, well, we keep going to flashbacks. We only have 3 episodes left, so we have 5, 6, and 7. So
We're 4 out of 7, yeah.
So this is where they're gonna give us some of the meat, and maybe they were saving some money for these last 3 that they didn't put into the 3rd episode. As I trail off.
I mean, this was an expensive episode. Episode 2 is
for
an
sure.
expensive episode.
We're gonna see him riding a Rancor, guys. Like
All
they
right,
that's
saved
true.
some
They
money.
set that up.
Yeah.
They set it up. I mean,
If they don't do that, that's going to be real stupid.
they built the puppet. Like the puppet is a real thing.
Yeah, that's
So-
happening.
So, point of correction, guys. If you listen to Boba Fett's theme song, "Da-na-na," it's the same exact song as Crimson Dawn.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
I
it's
didn't
not.
know that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'll send you guys a link. Maybe we'll put it in our Discord. If you give us $10 more a month, I might send it to you personally.
Well, there you
There you
go.
go, Freddie.
We lay it all out. Oh, but I mean, it overall, all these things, like as we're talking about it, I'm like, there's so much that really happened in this, and I think for a show that, in its totality, I think will read very interestingly. It's gonna be cool to see how all this stuff affects it going forward, and I really do feel like we've hit the crest of the mountain, and now it's all momentum here on out. Like we know now. We talked last week. Who's the enemy? Who's the big bad? The Pikes. All right, we're all in the present. Black Chrysanthemum is on the team. We're calling in the Mandalorian. Like we are building an army now for war. The Tusken plotline established who he was and why he wanted a tribe. We got that down. We got this down. So I think that going forward, I'm really excited for all this. And on another note, last week, Tamara Morrison and Fennec Shand, Tamara Morrison and Ming-Na Wen, she is her character, did have to do this dumb thing where they're on the interview circuit and are like, hey, everyone, just like, wait, it'll get good. And listen, we're all speculating. We're all doing stuff. Don't directly tag actors and say you don't like the things they're in, even if you don't like the episodes, or like, when is your show going to get good? Like that, they shouldn't have to do that. So I'm hoping that they don't have to feel they need to do that after this episode. But guys, as we figure... Wait, go ahead.
I was gonna say this goes back to like Clone Wars stuff. People love hating. They love hating on it, and then it gets good, and then they stop hating, and the haters go away, and you're like, where did everyone go? I know you're still here.
I know you're still. You like this stuff, the Boba Fett show. I mean, in this, and like you said, Freddie, at the top, this episode checked so many great Boba Fett boxes. We got the ship. We got the fighting. We got the crime lords. We got the Rancor. We got the Wookiee. We got the seismic charges. A lot of great stuff coming up for the next weeks. Guys, any final thoughts now as we look ahead towards next week and the last 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett?
So after I had watched this episode for the second time, firstly, I didn't even think about him looking for his ship. Like that would be a thing for him to be searching for, but that was like when his main concern was getting his ship back. Second, was I was trying to figure out how many days Return of the Jedi was, like from when it started to when it ended. It's like what, 4 or 5 days or something like that. So there's 4 or 5 days from when he got eaten by the Sarlacc and then came out, probably 6 hours later, and then the time that this whole thing, like this is going on right now, where he is helping Fennec Shand, or Mando is doing his seasons, they're on Endor. They're on Endor right now. So this whole thing is going on. And I don't think about that whenever we're going through this. So that whole flashback, they're on Endor right now. So that's kind of a thing to keep in the back of your mind.
There was a weird comment, I think, in this episode about like years or something.
that Bobo was with the Tuskens for years.
Yes. Wasn't he with them for like 5 years or something like that?
They said he was them with multiple years, and that shocked me.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like that. Because I had agreed. I was like, it's all happening right now.
That time was weird.
That was the first time they'd established that, though.
Yeah.
It's again. I'm feeling those pains that I felt with the sequel trilogy of changing directors so much. With it doesn't feel like there's that great of a cohesive story between these things, and they're missing those kind of details. Because I think everybody is very confused about the timeline. I mean, even us.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know how long it's been. I don't know how long it's been.
Well, I want to say one other final thought thing from my standpoint is I think this episode challenged me in a good way to use some of the stuff that we preach here at UTini about like finding the things about it that you like, et cetera, not setting up too many expectations and then being upset when those things don't happen, right? Like specifically the whole Boba Fett thing, needing the back to like not being the warrior he was before. I really liked the idea of that story, and they're not going that way. He's fully healed. He's going to be full on Boba Fett. And that's fine. Like I had like a moment where I was like, oh, that would have been cool. And then I was like, but now I get to see Boba Fett like at full strength again, So trying to not get upset about the things you want to see or the things you were hoping to see and all that, and just accepting the show as it is and as it comes. And I want to say that Mando episodes, plenty of them came out and we were giving them sevens and things, right? But when you look back at Mando, season 1 and season 2, it's a phenomenal show. And so who's to say that we don't get 3 just firecracker episodes here of a crime syndicate war on the streets of Tatooine, and we come out of it just absolutely looking back on this super fondly? I think that's honestly pretty highly likely. So I just want to encourage people, even if you don't like all the little individual things, even if you come out of episodes like Ep 3 like we did, not loving it, like don't get too down yet, right? Like just take the show as it comes, and I really think we're going to come out of this loving it.
Manage your expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Before we get out of here, Freddie, first of all, thank you for coming on this morning. We'd love to have you
bed
here,
after
dude.
this.
Back to sleep. But before you do, if there are some of our viewers that haven't checked out Legends Look Back yet, briefly tell folks why they should watch Legends Look Back. And what do you guys got coming up? What did you do last week? What do you got coming up this week?
Yeah, so last week we went over basically a lot of the news and new content that's coming out for Legends. Believe it or not, new books being dropped. You've got the Essential Legends collection being dropped as well. Comic omnibuy, tons of them. And this week, actually, we're going to be doing our Rule of 2 roundtable. So get ready, guys.
The best cover ever. Let's go.
It's been redone.
It's been remade.
Yeah. But we're going to be covering that. And why should you like Legends? There's so much good content there. And there's a lot of what I've got back here, you could have read it years and years ago in the 90s, and you're starting to see it on screen now. So
There you go.
just saying.
Just saying, mic dropped. And everyone, Freddie, if they want to see Legends Look Back live, when are they tuning in on this very YouTube channel?
So that will be Thursdays at 9:30 Eastern. That's about when I get out of work on the Pacific. So
Beautiful. So it is your fault confirmed. All right. Excellent. Everyone, yes, check out Freddie, Jared, Emily, and Rick every Thursday. They have an absolute blast on that show. And of course, you can check us all out on The Living Force tomorrow night. On Monday, we are going to be debuting our first ever watch-along interview that we did when we were in Asheville.
That's right.
So if you're watching this today, you get a little sneak preview. We interviewed Kevin Scott and George Mann, and we recorded that. Usually we drop those separately, but tomorrow night we will be playing that live, and we'll be in the chat with you guys so we can experience that together, which I think will be a lot of fun. And of course, there were a couple little bit Star Wars news we'll be talking about. Living Force every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. But my friends, that'll do it for this week's episode of Bounty Hunt. Keep your eyes out for our next hunt, and we'll be diving into episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. A special thank you to OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, JG Kars, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Matt Billington, Tyler Latour, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. Go ahead and tell us all your thoughts about the Book of Boba Fett in our Discord community at utini.com/Discord. Use those spoiler tags appropriately. And be sure to follow the main show on Twitter at Living Force Pod and Legends Look Back as well. And all of us individually for our thoughts on all things Star Wars. Until next time, I was left on the sands of Tatooine.
Penta.
Panta.